And this is Biz Check. On the first hour of this show, we shall be looking at the real estate market. Oh yeah, and I want to take you to the Super Bowl because I want to take you through some very interesting statistics. Just come along. These are the numbers, this is according to Statista.com. And I want to take you back to 2017. Look at this. The residential market, has always dominated the real estate market. In 2017, the total value of the sector was about 477.96 billion Kenya shillings. And let me show you these. The residential sector accounted for 419 billion Kenya shillings, while the commercial real estate sector was about 58.66 billion Kenya shillings. And let's now leapfrog all the way up to 2022. Let me first of all take you to 2020. Look at the numbers here. The real estate, the residential, was also dominating the sector at about 614.60 billion Kenya shillings, while the commercial real estate sector was at 69.2 billion Kenya shillings. There is a reason why I wanted you to concentrate on 2020. Because remember, this was a year the COVID-19 was biting real hard. And then 2021, there was a slump. And the market was valued at 653.29 billion shillings. Remember, this was the time of the infamous lockdowns. There was no business that was taking place in the country. And so the market had a huge slump. 2022, all the projects that were in the pipeline, they were under all the estates that were under construction, they roared back to life. And the figures went high by 691.46 billion Kenya shillings. And then in 2023, that was last year, there was also another slump. The market was valued at 678.16 billion shillings. You may want to ask yourself, why did this happen? Because this is what we call in financial lingo market correction. The market was correcting itself. And that's why the market somehow now stabilized. In 2024, the market is expected to grow to 697 billion Kenya shillings. This is almost at the same level as 2022 and almost at the same level as 2020. But I also want you to focus on 2028. This market will reach 811 billion Kenya shillings. And who is going to dominate these? Of course, your guess is as good as mine. Residential real estate will account for 715 billion Kenya shillings, while the commercial real estate sector will be at it's 95.99 billion shillings. Remember, these are projections. These are estimates. The market may autocorrect itself. So what are these numbers talking about? I told you that I have a team of experts in the house. We shall be discussing these numbers. And of course, last night, the National Assembly passed the Affordable Housing Bill. What is this bill expected to do, or how is the market expected to react? Let me introduce you to the guest. Dan Owiti is the General Manager at Ameristar Real Estate. He's joining me on the set. Thank you very much indeed, Dan, for your time. And next to Dan, we have George Mboro, who is the CEO of Mizizi Homes here in Nairobi. Thank you very much indeed, George. But I want to start with Dan. When you look at these numbers, what conclusions do you make?
Thank you for having me, O'Brien. It's a pleasure to be here and for the whole crew. The projections are good because, as you see, immediately after COVID, the market is coming back. We have seen a lot of real estate companies even coming up. Yeah. Even in Ameristar, during the COVID, we had to take a little bit of a slow pace. But now we are receiving a lot of requests, a lot of inquiries. Now, technically, when the uptake of residential comes up, then you realize that economy becomes stable. Because one thing is important in life, that is having a home.
Having a home.
Having a home. That's one of the basics that you can ever achieve as a human being.
Very good.
Yes.
And I also want to hear from you because we need to take a short break.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you very much. And the statistics, it says that numbers never lie. which means if the demand and the value of the income that the country is getting from affordable housing and housing real estate in general, it means that for sure the agenda of affordable housing is something that has been long overdue, and now we can start getting even analysis which are factual figures. And for us as Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, this is something that we have been talking about, that we have a sleeping giant in affordable housing, because it is not only good for people to own homes, but it is also one of the biggest earners of foreign currencies.
Very good.
The remittances that were remitted to go to affordable housing over that period from Corona has been increasing.
Good.
Yeah.
We will be continuing with this conversation, but we want to go to Radisson Blu. This is where the Sports Minister, Ababu Namwamba, is the chief guest during the launch of the Kenya Innovation Agency. They're launching their strategic plan. Let's now listen into what the CS is talking about.
We are making arrangements for you to present these awards to His Excellency the President, because they mean a hell of a lot. And I assure you this morning that the ministry is committed to supporting the agency in growing your budget to help deliver on the master plan and implement the bold strategic plan that we unveiled this morning. Specific interventions regarding budget growth are ongoing, and the Innovation Agency will champion innovation-related matters within the National Youth Opportunities Towards Advancement project, NYOTA, which I have just made reference to. And indeed, we have plugged you into that NYOTA framework. I want to invite all stakeholders to collaborate and partner with Kenya for the success of these initiatives aimed at our shared socio-economic development. And Kenya, hongera, pongezi, kongole for the manner in which you have been the best agents in this ministry in forging partnerships and in pursuing resources beyond the limited exchequer. I applaud you for that. And with those remarks, may I now be guided. My speech notes say that I'm supposed to declare something. But I believe I want to be guided on the brouhaha of doing these things, the ceremony and all that. Otherwise, asanteni sana, and let us make this happen.
Thank you so much. Round of applause to our chief guests. Can we be upstanding and just appreciate Honorable Cabinet Secretary for amazing, providing political leadership, buy-in and goodwill, and just giving Kenya the space to dream and to implement. At this particular point in time, Honorable CS, allow me to allow Tony.
Well, there's a Sports Minister, Ababu Namwamba. They are launching the strategic plan for the Kenya National Innovation Agency, Kenya. We'll give you more information as we go by. Well, welcome back to the conversation. Our conversation this morning revolves around the growth of the real estate sector in Kenya. What are the dynamics that are going to drive this sector? Is it going to be, are we likely to see a shift whereby we have traditionally the sector has been driven by the residential real estate? Are we also likely to see a shift in this game? I told you that the people we have on the set is Dan Owiti. He's the General Manager, Amerista Real Estate, and George Mburu, the CEO of Mizizi House. I want to go back to you. And I want to hear from you. I mean, when you look at the 10 years of the real estate industry, the residential market has dominated this sector. Are we likely to see a change?
Definitely not a huge one, but there's a slight of a shift. This is because immediately after COVID and during COVID, a lot of people, when working from home became a norm, then people began to view their homes as offices. And this has actually shifted and it has changed. If you look at commercial lettings right now, you will be surprised that there is a lot of houses and offices to let. You go to places like Garden City, you'll find. You go to Sarit Center, you'll find there's still a percentage of commercial spaces to be let. Why? Because most of these people have actually got an alternative. Now, also come to embrace the fact that we have a lot of online businesses coming on right now. So a lot of people can easily operate from their warehouses straight to the customer. Some can also be able to produce from their own garage and straight to the customer. So this is what is going to bring a shift, but not a huge one, because by the end of the day, businesses still need official presence. They still need to have a legal office, which is by the law, and they still need to be registered as an office. So the shift will be slight, but not as big. Now, coming back to the residential. Residential houses are coming up so in various places right now. You go to Kileleshwa, you'll still find an upsurge of the same. You go to Runda, you are still going to find an upsurge of the same. And if you get out of Nairobi, like for instance where we have our first project, that is Genesis Gardens in Kisaju. The last projection for Kajiado was at about 2 million. That is by 2019. Between 2019 and now, you probably have gotten a few changes here and there. And you realize that a lot of people will still be able to live in Kisaju, live in Kajiado, and come back to work in Nairobi, courtesy of the expressway. So this will actually also bring the change of people shifting from living within the Nairobi area to living outside the Nairobi area and still being able to come back and do business in Nairobi. Yes.
George, I want to hear from you. I mean, you see, we have hundreds of real estate projects in Kenya, but we haven't seen, you know, a drop in the cost of houses in this country. Why is this the case? I mean, you'd expect the market to do a bit of correction there.
Yeah, thank you very much. You'll appreciate the fact that in the past there have been a lot of mistrust between the investors and the developers. And this is because most of the investors have invested, but at the end of the day they have not received the end of their bargain. So you find that there's a lot of mistrust when it comes to the home ownership, this issue of home ownership and investment into real estate. And that is something that we have really been talking as Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, because we have noted there's a gap when it comes to the law, because people are not protected sufficiently. But at the end of the day, you also find that because of that, most of the customers also, because there's a lot of fear, at times they also they are not in a position to make the part of the bargain by paying frequently as it should. So you find that the relationship between the customers and the developers, at times it's not as good, and this is because there is no any guidelines when it comes to the law. And right now I'm happy because the way the government is going, real estate is also being seen as one of ways of bringing funds to the country in terms of remittances. And we are believing that moving forward, even banks, because another issue has been an issue of giving loans. It has been also been very difficult for banks to lend people who want to buy homes. You find that the rate at which the mortgage uptake in our country is at, it's very low. And that is why you find that bodies like KMRC, they have money that they have been given by World Bank and others to lend at a low interest rate, but still it is not dropping down to the user now. Now what we need to correct is the issue of that mistrust, and also the issue of financing, so that more people are able to get the mortgages, because at the end of the day we have seen the demand is there. And also people are willing to work, because we have so many young people that are looking for jobs. The workforce here in our country, materials are there. So in terms of cost, it should not be a hindrance at all, because we have local materials, we have quarries. So getting those materials that we use for construction should not be a problem. What was missing is the framework for people to have that kind of engagement, which I feel we as Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, despite the ups and downs, we have tried to keep focus, and actually we can be taken as a guinea pig of somebody who did it while there was not so much support and not so much people were talking about. But right now, we have something that we can show. Yeah.
And I like the fact that, I mean, you see, when you look at the Kenyan real estate industry, there are more than 350 players in this market. And that tells you that there is so much opportunity. And so, how then do you bring about, you know, synergies between the real estate players and the government so that the two can work together to the benefit of the consumer? Dan?
First of all, I really want to put this across that during my years in real estate.
How many years have you been in business?
About 7 years right now.
7 years now, yeah.
The government has tried to play its part because the government has given enough support in terms of legislation, in terms of being able to make sure that the industry is run as well as it should be. In as much as, yes, there has been that mistrust, and you can never lack a few people and a few organizations which are not quite legit and are trying to scam people out of their money because in the name of real estate. However, as you move forward, you realize that by the end of the day, Kenyans now have become also very cautious. And now they're very, very keen whenever they're dealing with anyone, any land matters, because they have learned their lessons. Now, as you come into being able to process your land paperwork or your homeowner's paperwork, you realize that at first people would come to the real estate companies and not do any serious homework on the background. We have also dealt with clients who will not even want to engage a lawyer because he thinks that paying for that legal fee, paying for that professional fee will actually hurt him. And yet this should be the person who should be able to help him check and also mitigate in case of any other losses in terms of future home ownership. Now, when we come into that, as Ameristar, one thing that we do with our customers is we let everything out for them and we allow them to work with their own professionals. As we go into land purchase, we make sure that we've done all the due diligence. And even as our clients come to us, we ask them these questions and we tell them, do you want to engage your own professional? Do you want to engage your own lawyer? Or are you okay to deal with our own lawyer? Now that makes it comfortable for the client to have these options. Number two, the other issue that has been also giving real estate a lot, and that actually played a bigger role in the last few years, was the fact that it came out clearly that there were even some properties which were financed by banks, and yet the paperwork was not legit. Now, the question which came was what happened during that process. So the banks have also worked their way hard right now to be able to clear these misunderstandings and to be able to correct this. Going forward, I think our way of working is to make sure that the client has all the options. The client also is given an opportunity to do his due diligence and be able to follow up on the project and be able to take ownership of the process as you start investing in your home. That is the advice I can give to any customer, any person who wants now to invest in real estate.
Yeah, and let's also face it, I mean, it's not just small companies or newcomers who have had challenges in this industry. We have also seen established companies like Saiton, like Suraya, you know, they all got into financial headwinds and they still have many projects, you know, that are pending, and they still have a number of court cases, you know, going on. And this has somehow eroded the confidence of investors in this industry. And so then how do we bring back the confidence of investors in the real estate industry in Kenya?
Yeah, thank you very much. You find that at the end of the day, as long as you're into business, you must engage the professionals, which is very crucial. But you find that the mistrust at times is caused because of unnecessary competition. For example, we as Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, we have had our good number of employees, but after working for a while, they feel that they can also start their own venture. So at the end of the day, you find that a company to get to a certain level is very difficult because there is a lot of internal competition within the company itself, because you find that some of the people maybe are attracted by the luxury they see. They feel that this is a get rich quick. So you find that somebody may get into that sphere without realizing that at the end of the day, you want to deliver a certain need to a number of customers. So you find that the companies themselves, at times, they actually destroy the whole ecosystem. But the good thing is that at the end of the day, the customer here is the king, and we are looking at the demand. And
in all these, the customer is the one who is losing.
Yeah, yes. The customer is the one who is losing. And for sure, we need to seal those loopholes, because you find that when those companies go down, for example, you have mentioned a few, there's a lot of loss when it comes to the economy, because you find some of the projects, they stall. You find that it doesn't mean there was no money that was put there. There was money that was put there, but you find that at some point, the project stall. Why? Because maybe the developer maybe misappropriated the funds, maybe they underquoted the prices, or maybe the customers themselves are not also doing their part, because this is a relationship. When you are purchasing a house, this is a relationship that you are building with that particular developer. And if that particular developer is not looking at your end goal, you may actually miss the point, both of you. Because the customer, at some point, if you do not pay, you find that even legally, you may not be protected, because you also defaulted on the contract. So you find that the relationship is something that it's a 360 degree. Everybody has to play, has to play their part. So this issue of blame game that has been there, and it has actually been started by the developers themselves, without even giving solutions to the problem, should come to an end. The blame game.
And one concept that has been really affected by this is the off-plan. Whereby you sell the concept to the people, they invest their money hoping that you're going to implement this project, and then somewhere along the way the money dries up, the project is abandoned, and it is left to rot. Is it high time we rethink about this concept of off-planning?
If you ask me, I will say no. I think the best that can happen is to get an off-plan and develop it to your satisfaction. Because most of the time, you invest in an already built house. You are still going to make changes to suit your taste. And sometimes these changes that you need to make could be structural. And eventually, you might end up interfering with the durability of the house.
But isn't that a better option rather than investing my hard-earned money into a project that will never take off, or that will stall halfway?
That is why I'm saying, if you make an off-plan better and you are able to achieve...
How do you make it better?
Then that is the greatest you can do.
How do
Number
you make it
one
better?
is just being able, as a company, I will talk on the company part. As a company, you must be very clear on your blueprints. Very clear, and try to work with the timelines. Because the moment you miss the timelines, you have disadvantaged the client. For instance, if a client was investing in your plan and expecting to get into that house in 2 years' time, and the house is not there 3 years down the line, you see, the investment is stalled, and the client is still paying rent wherever he or she is, and probably the client had taken a loan. Now, this is now a double tragedy. The loan has to be serviced, and he still has to pay rent. However, for a situation where a business person and a company is able to keep with the timelines and update the clients accordingly, and also seek the client's advice, because most of the time you get into real estate and you'll get into development and you think you know it all, and yet there could be 10 or 5 of your clients who are so good in something like that, who can actually be able to help you even finish it. We've seen projects where the project comes to you, is almost stalling, but the clients themselves come in and they say, listen, we are not going to let this, and we are going to make sure that this thing works. And that has always happened. So the problem comes in when the developer decides to become know-it-all and also does not give clear information to the clients. And that is what has been not helping us at all. It is high time that we work with our clients, road by road, route by route, and even if when things do not go your way and probably you are meeting financial constraint because of maybe you not having gotten the right BQs for your project, it is not wrong to be able to bring your clients on board and explain to them that, yes, I missed the target because I costed the project at least, say, 200 million, but right now with the changes in the government, changes in the legislation, changes in imports, I cannot be able to deliver that. I probably would need some help. I know of banks which will come in and tell you, okay, we can give you some support and help you finish this at this way, and you have an understanding with them.
And I understand these days, I mean, it's becoming very difficult for banks to finance an off-plan project. Is it true?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. To some extent, I would support his sentiments. And also add that what we need to do, I've been in the off-plan sphere for the longest. Actually, I think Mrs. Africa Homes Limited is the oldest, or if not one of the oldest off-plan players that are still thriving. Now, the problem comes at the land purchase. You find that off-plan, sometimes, the way it normally operates right now, you put the customers in all one basket. Whether it is a customer who is well financially, they're financially capable, and somebody who is not financially capable, which means the person who has the cash may have to wait for the person who does not have the cash. Now here the problem comes when there's that stagnation and stalling, like my brother has said. And you find that, like us Mrs. we have come with a concept of called buy we build, where we separate these two issues. Start by giving the customer the title.
The title deed.
The title deed. At least they have secured the parcel of land. Then when it comes to construction, make sure as a developer you have made sure that the common amenities, the roads, the electricity is there, there is a borehole or water if you plan to give them that extra service. You make sure that you upgrade the plots themselves. Then you issue everybody with their own title. This is something that we are giving as free advice, especially to upcoming developers, because even us when we were starting, we were very enthusiastic that everything is going to be, as we say in economics, ceteris paribus. When you are starting, you have a lot of sometimes theory, which makes you sometimes not to do some calculations. You assume everything will be constant. If it is somebody you have agreed they will pay within 1 year, they will do that. You assume everything
You don't
constant.
do a risk analysis of the project.
There's no risk analysis. You don't expect there will be corona. You don't expect the dollar at some point will go
Of course, nobody would expect corona.
Yeah. There was elections. You don't know which side will win. You don't know the policies they will come with. To mitigate all these risks to the developer especially, and also to the client, a win-win situation. Subdivide the land. Give the customer the title. Tell them this is what we project to do for the whole estate. You come up with a master plan. This is what we plan to do for the whole estate. But as much as we are doing it together, everybody has their own individual role to play. Yes, we are doing it as a group, but again, everybody has to play their part. So if everybody has their title, if somebody does not have the money to construct, you find that they can even take their sweet time. But if somebody is ready and they want to occupy very fast, also that's another route. So this is like a marrying of land selling and construction.
Help us understand this. Because when you walk through the Kenyan real estate industry, I mean, you will see many unfinished or incomplete projects. From the Alma by Saiton in Ruaka to Suraya property in Loresho, you know, to Ekeza, Urithi. I mean, you do not want to tell me that all these projects have stalled because of indiscipline or financial mismanagement. What other factor has contributed to these sad state of affairs in this industry, Dan?
Thank you. Looking at them, a big name like Saiton, even to us, it was a surprise. But you can't also say that someone with the intelligence of Dande could have just let that go.
Or the management of
Or the
Saito.
management, yeah.
Yeah, because it was top brains.
Yes, and I loved the project. I loved the concept. Saiton itself is a great organization. Even if you look at the structure and what they're doing, it's a great organization. But over and above that, I think sometimes we as developers also bite too much.
More than you can chew.
More than we can chew. Because by the time someone has about 6, 7, or 8 projects running at the same time,
And these are multi-billion shillings projects.
and real estate needs huge, huge cash flow. It is a cash-intensive kind of business. It's not like any other business that you may think you will get the cash coming as you wish. No, you must be very, very strategic. So some of them, if you look keenly, you'll realize that there are probably multiple projects which are demanding, and probably there could have been somewhere which they did not consider very well. Now, if you look at that and you take that risk mitigation and you concentrate on 1 or 2 projects, you realize that you'll be able to finish them. Now, coming back to Ameristar, just to give you a little background of Ameristar. Ameristar is a real estate company fully registered in Kenya. We have a project, our maiden project, which is what we are focusing right now in Kisaju. The project has 50 by 100 plots, which are now, we are putting them into the market. The project is a fully controlled project. It's a mixed-use kind of project where we have common areas, we have roads, we have water, we have electricity. And like what my brother said, we have titles. And we went further and we said, we don't want our clients to start walking around looking for house designs, looking from, going from one architect to another, from one lawyer to another. We brought in the house designs. We brought in professionals like architects. We brought in every consultant that they would want to work with. Now, this gives the client ease of mind in terms of one is able to get his title immediately, and the next question after a client has had his title is, when can I start construction?
Yeah.
And you know, the title gives the client the authority to start construction. Number 2, as we walk in this road, we know that not all clients will be able to have the cash, like my brother said. So what happens? We went ahead and we spoke to several banks, and we did everything that they needed us to do in terms of providing them with all the paperwork. So you walk into their branches, and you'll find someone, you talk to them, like if you walk to ABC branch, and you talk to them about Ameristar, they will tell you they know us. They know our titles are genuine. They participated in part of it. You go to Rafiki Microfinance in Kitengela, they know us. So this has given our clients easy time for them not to start scouting, but rather the scouting has already been done with them. And this will help them in terms of getting financing and being able to do their houses. So these are some of the factors that we believe will be able to spur a lot of interest and be able to help our clients.
And restore the confidence of investors.
Exactly.
You know, something else that I have also seen in this industry, I have a small project that has been ongoing for some time now. And this market is highly volatile in terms of prices. Today, you buy, a bag of cement at 800 shillings. 3 weeks down the line, the same bag will cost you 850 shillings.
Yeah.
Today, you buy steel at maybe the Y15. It would be maybe 920 shillings. 3 weeks down the line, the same will cost you 1,000 shillings. So when you're planning for an off-plan project, how then do you factor in these oscillation of prices so that you ensure that you don't get into losses?
Sure. Yeah, that's true. To be sincere in any business, not leave alone even the real estate, any business, there is a lot of volatility. And that is because,
But I don't know of any other industry where volatility in terms of pricing is as high as this industry.
Yeah.
Because, for example, look, for example, the dairy industry.
Sure.
you know, a liter of milk, you know, it's not going to go up, you know, with crazy numbers in the next 3 weeks. But when you look at the real estate industry, the construction sector, you get numbers that shock you.
As Bonadan had said, you find that this is a cash flow intensive kind of an investment, which means, like for example, every weekend when we are having our construction, we have our laborers. You have to pay them on a weekly basis. There's a lot of high turnover of cash. So you find that you can see the volatility, because this is the fact. This is the fact. You are not constructing a house within 1 month. For example, for us, we give like a period of 1 year. Within 1 year.
For a project?
Yeah, for a
from
project.
From start to finish?
From start to finish. In 1 year.
Isn't that a long time?
It's a long time. So much has happened. So definitely, somebody has to feel that pinch. And that is why, like my brother had said,
and aren't you likely to run into cost overruns? Because, I mean, the beauty of a project is you get in fast, you move out fast. So if you delay for 12 months,
that's why as Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, we have come with that concept you are calling buy, we build. First of all, secure the piece of land. Then we give you a BQ that you have to look within a period of 6 months. At least within a period of 6 months, you don't expect so much fluctuations. Within 6 months. So if you have the piece of land, even the bank will come and give you money and actually give you a grace period of 6 months. Even before you now start paying loan, already the house is complete. You understand? We are trying to reduce the timelines. And when you reduce the timelines, you can only do that from the foundation. And the foundation is at the point of title. So if everybody have their title and we have agreed as the developer or your contractor, because it doesn't have to be us, you can actually even give an independent contractor who is also registered. And you have to go with timelines. Let's say this mansionette, this bungalow, how long do you need it to be constructed? We can tell you in 6 months, we can have done that house, we have the ready cash. So you can tell us, right now I have let's say $1 million or 2 million, what can you do with that? We can tell you we can do the foundation. And by so doing, we will not put pressure to the customer in terms of getting cash, and also the risk will not be on the client, on the developer, because this is a risk that the developers take. And some of those houses that you are mentioning, maybe they had started the projects in, let's say, maybe 2010, when a bag of cement was 300 or 400. Right now, it's actually double. You find that it is not possible. And you had your contracts with the buyer. You had told them we are going to sell to you at this affordable price of, let's say, 3 million. But right now, to deliver that, it costs 6 million. So you find that now convincing a buyer that the shilling of yesterday is not as the same as the shilling of today, it's not an easy task. So you find that is why also there is a lot of stagnation. So we need to be very clear, and with timelines especially, with timelines we need to be very clear from both sides of the coin, both the developer as well as the client.
As a client.
Yeah.
Dan, I also want to hear things. I mean, we have also seen a situation whereby, you know, a company gets into a project. Let's, for example, use Amerista. You embark on a project, and then somewhere along the process, you get into financial headwinds. It may not be because of your financial mismanagement or indiscipline or siphoning of funds, but because of 1 or 2 things that were never planned for during when the project was starting. But the moment investors discover that you are facing delays or financial challenges, they move to court. And so the project is stopped. Yeah. And then you engage in litigations that will go for years. And this would definitely affect this project. How then should that be handled so that you avoid panicky investors, pursuing legal cases that will take forever to be concluded?
Thank you once again. It is the right of the investors to move to court when they feel that the promise has not been delivered, because they have a contractual obligation with you. It's also your obligation as a developer to try to run within the timelines that you promised your clients. But also we have issues which are without us, which we cannot be able to control. So when these issues happen, like the example my brother used of, let's say, change of political leadership in the country. You know, a big number of clans will not be able to invest in property just during the election or prior to election or a few months to election. Because everyone will be waiting, they will have that concept of wait and see what will happen. Now, if that happens and yet you had timelines to achieve, it means that you have to go back to the drawing board and readjust your plan. And if you go back to your drawing board and readjust your plans yourself without informing them, then you are going to have a lot of battles.
You've been breach of contract.
Agreed. Now, I'm not going to share, to mention the name, but I have been involved in a company which had stalled for quite some time. But one thing that this company used to do was to give regular, practical updates to the clans and listening to those clans who had issues. So what am I saying? Simple. Let's walk this journey with the clans. If I am having financial issues and I need the gap to be closed, there are options. One, I can look for a financial partner. I can take equity. I can take another person to be able to help me finish the project, or go back to the clans and explain to them. And that will be good if your books are also good. Because if you came to me and the amount of money received vis-a-vis the amount of money you've spent on the project and the estimates do not marry, then I don't want to be part of you. But if your books are good and the clans can be able to verify that, yes, this is what has been promised, this is what has been done, the consultants can be able also to confirm the same. A few and some of the clans will actually work with you the journey. Some of them will ask you a simple question: what do we do to help us finish this project? Some will give you cash flow. Some will actually be able to give you some cash injection. Some will advise you on the companies or entities that can be able to help you finish. But the biggest issue, like I said, was a company that knows it all. And then you stagnate, and then you cannot tell them because you knew it all, and then now you're stuck. In every relationship, even from the government to us, the people, they have to carry a survey. They have to meet the people and talk to people and be able to understand what their needs are and how best we want this solution to be given to us. If you come to affordable housing, some people say that affordable housing is going to bring us private entities down. The reverse is true. It's going to help us. Because now a client has an option. He sees what the government is doing. He can be able to know what the government is doing. And the government is also giving them the costings, because the government is telling them this house, you can only be able to afford it at this amount of money. And then I am here telling you that, yes, I'm also having this product, and you can be able to have it at this amount of money, but with some more flexibility, one, and two, you can be able even to make it suit what you want by the end of the day.
Very well.
Yes.
And I like the fact that you're bringing in the concept of, or the conversation around the affordable housing, and this is where I was going next. Yesterday we saw the National Assembly, passing the affordable housing bill, which now goes to the Senate for debate before it is transition to the presidency. And there has been fears that the government is now getting into this sector in a big way. And the beauty about the government is that it has the finances, it has lands, it has money, it has the expertise, and it's bringing competition to the private sector, where some of the players are not well financed. They don't have the space the government has. They do not have the expertise that the government has, and so it is likely to elbow out some of the players. Do you agree with those fears?
No. Thank you very much. One thing you'll appreciate with the government is that the work of the government is to create the blueprint. And like in Kenya, we have a blueprint of, as a country, Vision 2030. And if you have been very keen, this is something that the Jubilee administration borrowed heavily. And it is also something that the Kenya Kwanza government has borrowed heavily. if you look at their manifestos, they were talking about the three basic needs, which is food, shelter, and clothing, but they were putting it in such a way: affordable housing, agriculture, healthcare, school, the basic things, the social things. And we as business people, it is high time we agree to the fact that sometimes we look at customers as if they are just into business. For them, that is like you find that somebody has brought their savings. For them, it is a big deal. But sometimes as business people, we do not look at the social aspect. And the social aspect is that this customer is looking for a shelter for their children. They are looking at how they can shelter their house. They stop paying rent, because rent, we know, again, keeps on going up and down, and there is so much issues with rent, you understand. So we need to look at now this thing the way the government is looking at it. Housing is not just a matter of a business. It is matter of a social issue, which we can actually say a social justice, because owning a home is a right in our constitution. So you find that we also need to look at this thing from a broader perspective, so that we do not look at it just as a form of a business. The government is coming and it will lay the blueprint and the structures. The structures, I mean, like for example, if I may give an example of a school. Most of the schools we have in Kenya, they are government owned, isn't it? But you also find there are also private schools which are doing very well. Same case with hospitals. Yes. There are hospitals that are government owned and actually national government.
Actually, majority of hospitals in Kenya are
But you also have private hospitals which are doing very well. So it's not a matter of competition. It's a matter of what gap are we feeling. The gap we are feeling here is people don't have houses. A majority of people don't have houses. Somebody works paying rent for all their life. They go into retirement, and all they can show is where they used to live. And again, they go back to rural area without having any form of an investment.
And I like the fact that you have used the analogy of the health industry, and it is true. Majority of health facilities in Kenya are owned by the government, but we also have the private sector coming in a very strong way, and some of the leading hospitals, not only here in Kenya but in Africa, they are in the hands of private players. And so then in this sector, the real estate industry, then how do you create that synergy? How do you create that win-win situation? And how do you create that complementary role of the government and the private sector in helping achieve houses, for people who do not have houses, Mr. Dan?
Like I said, the affordable housing is actually going to complement what we are doing, because my first word was the client has been given an option. When you went to buy your nice suit, you had options, but you went to a specific person who probably has supplied you with the suits before. And that does not mean that he had the best, or does not mean that the other people did not have the best, but there is what you needed, and he was able to meet that need at that particular time. Now you come to housing. When you come to housing, the structure of affordable housing is made in such a way that by the end of the day, it's a very long-term project to be achieved. It has also not so realized its ups and downs, because it has not taken off fully for the government to be able to give us an analysis and say that, yes, we've been able to do it, we've been able to achieve it without 1, 2, 3. But looking at it as a private investor, the moment the government puts on the affordable housing and the houses start coming up, then the investor is going to be given an option. One, to be able to go the specific way of the government. Two, to be able to work with me in being able to achieve his dreams. Now, if you look at them, most of them are going to be flats. A majority of them in Nairobi are going to be flats. You go to the one in Pangani, yes. Those are flats. You go to I think I've driven to about 3, which are basically flats. What of a person who doesn't need a flat? A person who wants his own small compound. A person who wants to have his parking garage. A person who is looking at an environment that he can feel private. that person will walk to me, or he'll walk to a private investor somewhere else and be
So
able
people
to
who
have
are
that
looking
charge.
for like bungalows.
Exactly. So these are options that we as private investors look at in that paperwork and see where we can be able to fill in. Now, you come to commercial amenities in our control project. You realize that if this person is, if one investor is able to do the two, is able to have his house and do his private business in the same area where he's living, this adds more to what he's able to do, because when you come to the structure of affordable housing, if you say that it's going to be fully residential, then it means that if you want to run your private business, you'll have to drive somewhere else. What if you came to Amerista, where I'm going to have a commercial area for you, and your house to your office could just be a walking distance?
Yeah.
You separate the two of your private life and your business, but you're still in the same area.
Good.
That means that there is comfort. You can offer your services even late. You can now work late. You can go to your office earlier than is anticipated, and you can now be able to be more efficient, rather than also waste maybe 2-3 hours on traffic every day trying to reach the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Because we have to wind up now, George, I want to give you a minute so that you can give us like a hint as to where this market, this market is going, and what will impact this market going forward.
Yeah, thank you very much. One thing that we have noted that the people that are living in the diaspora right now, they are looking at investing back at home. And that is something that the government is also encouraging for our young people. They go out, they work hard, but at the end of the day, they invest back at home. That is something that we can't overemphasize as Mrs. Africa Homes Limited. Let us invest back at home. And that is why people like us, we are here to make sure that you get your end of the bargain. And we are in this market, and where we get an opportunity where we can give it a win-win situation, we'll always try to do that. That's why we have brought the new concept by Mrs. Africa Homes Limited called Buy We Build. And we are not only targeting people to have homes, we're also looking at a form of an investment, because once you get that house ready in a gated estate, you can be assured within 2-3 years you can actually multiply or double your investment in two. We have seen people who have bought houses with us as Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, 3.5 million, 4 million, right now they are going 7 million, 7.5, 8 million within a span of less than 3 years.
Very
so
good.
This is not only a form of a home ownership, it's also a form of an investment.
Good.
Yeah.
Done.
Looking at the market right now, I see a lot of energy towards residential, and residential offices, because if you go even to the designs of the houses right now being approved by several county governments, I was at the county government of Mavoko the other day, and you'll see that a lot of designs have incorporated their offices to be able to be within their residential. So real estate, like we always say, is not a business that you want to wait and invest. It's an investment that you do today. And like my brother said, someone did a house at 3.5 and now it's at 7. If he did not do it at 3.5, he would be now spending twice the same amount of money. So the advice in real estate is it's a business that whenever you want to invest, you invest now. Now is the time to come and invest with Amerista. Now is the time to be able to pick up your property. Now is the time for us now to start working with you that route.
Very good. Yeah. Dan and George, thank you very much for being with us this morning, and of course for helping us pick your brains on where this market is going and the dynamics that will change this sector. Your time is highly appreciated. Very good. We've been talking about the real estate industry here in Kenya, the dynamics that are going to shape this market going into the future. And I gave you some very interesting statistics about where this market is going and where this market is coming from. O'Brien Kimani is my name. You're watching Base Check. We are live from Broadcasting House. It's now coming to 10:56. We are taking a break, but before we do that, we want to take you to Mombasa, where the Ministry of Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, CS Simon Chelugui, is closing the 9th Annual SACCO Leaders Convention at the White Sands Resort. Let's listen in.
And in the years ahead of us. So dear cooperative leaders, The government recognizes the vital role played by the cooperatives in improving the livelihoods of Kenyans. Cooperatives embody the spirit of unity and collaboration, bringing together individuals with common goals to achieve shared prosperity. From agriculture to finance, housing to healthcare, cooperatives have touched every facet of our society, empowering ordinary Kenyans to overcome challenges and seize the opportunities. Financial cooperatives, SACCOs, have long been the backbone of financial inclusion, providing services to unbanked, fostering financial literacy and resilience. They also facilitate access to affordable housing, essential services, ensuring that no Kenyan is left behind in our journey towards progress. It is against this backdrop that cooperatives have been recognized by the government as the key enablers of bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Dear SACCO family, the government is committed to ensuring SACCOs play an even more significant role in financial inclusion. Ongoing amendments to SACCO Societies Act aim to increase short-term liquidity through inter-borrowing and access to central payment system. Last year, I came down to Mombasa and launched the CoopTech shared services. I was in Nairobi and launched the SACCO Central shared services. These are among the policy reforms that we are introducing to enhance and improve service delivery across the SACCOs in Kenya. It is my appeal to all of you that as we journey this path of reforms, we invite you to walk with us every step of the way. It is our belief that these reforms that we are introducing today have a national and possibly regional impact in first reducing the cost of service, two, to enhance cooperation among cooperatives, and thirdly, to enhance supervision and regulation. And for that matter, we are asking KUSCO, as a matter of urgency, to begin the process of joining the regulatory regime of this country. We must all submit to regulation. We must all aspire and live within the same rules. We must have a level playing ground. All those organizations, SACCOs, who are deposit taking, either directly or from SACCOs, because it doesn't make sense. You are regulated as a primary SACCO, and you are taking money to a place which is not regulated. And what is the fate of that money? There is no supervision. So I appeal, and I want to, and it's not an appeal. These are my instructions that, given in the shortest time possible, KUSCO should begin the process of joining regulation to be oversighted. It is good manners, it is a sign of goodwill, and it is a show of confidence and also willingness to be transparent and accountable. There is nothing the regulator takes or brings to you. It just assures you. It just gives comfort to us, the government, to your members, that you are prudently managing their money. That is period. So are we all agreeable that when you have the third eye, we make mistakes. We are human beings. Even me, I make mistakes. Yesterday, the Auditor General read for us a scorecard for everybody. before our appointing authority. There are things I may not know. I sit somewhere and there are things happening even in another county, but I'm responsible. How will I correct that mistake when I sit in Nairobi and here in Kilifi, one of my officers are doing things that are contrary to our ministry's duty? So that person will check my bag, will look after my bag, will tell me my trouser is inside my socks. I had not seen because I woke up and I put on my trouser. Unfortunately, my trouser went inside my socks and I went into my car. I didn't see. Someone has to tell me. It's not my intention to dress that way, but it has happened and I didn't see, and I'm standing before you. So someone will whisper to me that, hey, CS, you have a problem, pull up your trouser, it's inside your socks. And I will do that. Not because he hates me or he doesn't like me, but because he wants me to look good before people. And that is what the role of a regulator. So the regulator, whatever Cusco will come to you, Chair, whatever they will ask you, please facilitate immediate onboarding of Cusco and all other SACCOs, deposit and non-deposit. I've already signed new levies, new terms to support you to oversee. It's my desire and prayer and wish that any SACCO in Kenya is supported right from the beginning. They may not be deposit taking, but...
Well, that is the Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelgui there addressing members or the leadership of the SACCOs and societies movement here in the country, and of course giving them some insight on the dynamics shaping this industry. We now want to listen to what the private security players are saying. They're meeting with the private sector regulatory authority, and I can see the Director General Fazul Mohammed is on the podium.
Yeah, so that when we come calling and we want to ensure compliance, it is a law that you have done what? You have familiarized yourself with. Tumelewana? So Section 21 and 28 of the Act requires that no person shall engage in the provision of security services unless that person has undergone mandatory security vetting. Sometimes you employ criminals without you knowing. Who has the vetting apparatus? Security vetting, the state, isn't it? So we will assist you to undertake all your officers for vetting, training, and licensing in accordance with the Act. Let it be crystal clear. The law makes it a mandatory requirement that you must go through what? Security, vetting. Number 2, training and licensing. By the time a student is interacting with you, or by the time the public is interacting with you, hafai kukuita askari ama soja, wanafaa kukuita na majina yako, yale umepatiwa, and there is a license there. Okay? The Private Security Regulations Act is our Magna Carta. It is the script upon which we must all follow. As custodians of safety and order in our institutions, you are subject to and must at all times respect and comply with the provisions of the Private Security Regulations Act number 13 of 2016. And number 1 principle under that act is respect and uphold Section 238, Article 238 of the Constitution of Kenya. What does Article 238 talks about? National security. Okay? You have a duty and an obligation to cooperate with the national security organs. Whether it is, who can mention for me the national security organs here? Sigalagala. Any national security organ? Office of the DCI. Okay. Another one? National Intelligence Service. Any? Huh? Yes, National Police Service, Kenya Defence Forces. You have an obligation. You are not operating in space. You are part and parcel of the national security infrastructure. And that's why we have a duty and we are concerned that we want to make sure that all your officers in your employment understand, are they able to detect or to identify and preserve evidence? When they see an evidence, ama watakuja na fagio wafagie. In the process, they interfere with evidence. Your people should be able to do what? Identify and preserve evidence. So that we have, the moment we have the national security organs come on board, they're able to do what? To collect. Tumelewana. In strict compliance with the law, all universities, colleges, national polytechnics, KMTCs, TVETs, and all institutions of higher learning must implement a holistic approach to security management to create a safe environment that is conducive for learning, research, and personal development. And some of the things you can do, sometimes you might go back to your institution and say, now we need a lot of money to do some of these changes that we are telling you to do. They may not necessarily require money. For a risk assessment, have you done a risk assessment in your institution? Sometimes I see adverts, you say, Kenyatta University requires 1,000 guards. What has informed 1,000 guards? Why not 800? Why not 2,000? Why not 400? What has informed that number? Yeah? So, as heads of security in our institutions of higher learning, you must fully understand the complexities of the terrain.
Fazul Mohammed, the CEO of Private Sector Regulatory Authority, there addressing members of the private sector, private security players there, and of course about the new regulations. We'll keep you posted on what's happening here. We're also keeping an eye on what's happening at State House. The president is expected to meet executives from Lipton Tea Company, where they are setting up an innovation center here in Kenya. We'll be giving you more details, and of course our reporters are on the ground just to ensure that we get a hint as to what's happening there. We're back in studio. Our conversation in the first hour, we are discussing the real estate industry. Now we are on to the next hour. And I told you this, the United Nations environmental assemblies taking place next week here in Nairobi. Close to 6,000 delegates from around the world will be coming over here to deliberate on issues around climate change. And this is coming against the backdrop of the COP28 that was held in Dubai at the end of last year. So it will be also taking stock of what exactly happened in Dubai and of course what is expected to happen in Baku, Azerbaijan in December this year. My team of experts are in the house to help us digest this topic, and I'll start with my immediate left. This is Dr. Mithika Mwendwa. He's a Executive Director of Pan-African Climate Justice. He's a regular face on this show, and so he's joining us this morning. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me to this first meeting, conversation of the year.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have Antek. She's a Climate Justice Coordinator at Femnet. Thank you very much indeed, Anne, for your time.
Thank you, Brian.
Asante sana. And next to Anne, we have Duncliffe Mbura. He's a Partnership Coordinator at Action Against Hunger.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
It's your first time here, right?
It's my first time.
Very good. Welcome to the show.
Is it too late to say Happy New Year?
Well, is this not? Because we only have 1.5 months. Eh?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
I want to start with Dr. Mwenda, Dr. Mithika Mwenda. What do you expect at the UNEP headquarters in Gigiri when close to 6,000 delegates, meet to discuss environmental issues?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. And again, it's a great pleasure to be here. My expectations is that we'll have a meeting, we'll have a conference, a summit, which is going to be different from others. Mm-hmm. As you are saying, this is the 6th summit. And one of the things we as the civil society, non-state actors, have been raising concerns about is the usefulness and the impact of these conferences. You know, conference after conference, decisions after decision, declaration after declaration, recommendation after recommendations, and it becomes what I normally call endless game of musical chairs. Every time we have decisions, yet there is no implementation. And so, one of my expectations is for the delegates, for the parties, for the governments to reflect back since UNIA 1, UNIA 2, UNIA 3, UNIA 4, UNIA 5, and say, we made these decisions, we made these declarations, and this is what we have achieved. Without that, it is going to be just another normal, just usual, you know, business as usual kind of a meeting, and then we go home, wait for the UNIA 7. But more importantly, of course, is that we have come just less than 2 months ago from the COP28 in Dubai. And earlier, we ended the COP15 of the Convention on Biodiversity. And all these are issues which are going to be discussed here. Climate change, biodiversity, pollutions, plastics, and how they are impacting on the planet. One of the most important things to note is that the world has reached the peaking point. And we need really to change our mode of consumption, production and consumption, and really address climate change in a very comprehensive manner.
Very good.
So if these are the things we are going to see here, of course we end decisions in the COP, both COPs, and we need really to see things moving. How this is going to be settled here and have the impact then is another question altogether. But this being the first meeting conference for the year, I think it will set the tone on what we need to do at global level as global citizens to arrest some of these crises which we are seeing on biodiversity, on pollution, on plastics, on climate change, to address them on a comprehensive manner.
I want to hear this from Dan Cliff, and Dr. Mithika is bringing out, you know, this issue of endless cases of miscochairs, you know, and this is something that you know, the world is getting accustomed to, whereby, you know, we've become people of meetings and resolutions. And I want to give you, you know, some very interesting numbers. The first UNEA that was held in 2014 here in Nairobi, it came out with 17 resolutions and 2 decisions. The second UNEA that was held in 2016, it had 25 resolutions, there was no decision. The third, which was held in 2017, we had 11 resolutions and 3 decisions. In 2019, 23 resolutions and 3 decisions. And the last one, which was in 2021-2022, 14 resolutions and 4 decisions. We do not know how many resolutions we'll come up with in 2024 and how many decisions will be reached at. How do we make these meetings on climate change and environment to count?
Thank you so much, Brian. And you've captured it well, that we're becoming a world of meetings and summits, and not making decisions on how to move forward. And one of the things that probably you can be able to look, following from COP28, one of the things that we have challenges is having funding, especially coming to the countries, especially that are affected by the climate change. Of course, a lot of discussions have been made, a lot of pledges have been made. So what is it that this summit going to help us? Of course, we're looking at, because this being the high policy making decision within the UNEP, we need to see decisions coming. We need to see that what is it that we are going to do to help the Africans. Look at the mother park somewhere at home. They're grappling with climate change issues. They're planting their crops, and the crops are not growing. Of course, it's affecting their children. It's affecting everyone. The economy is being affected. We have having children that are having very high levels of malnutrition in Africa. If you look at the numbers, you'll be shocked. One of the things that you'll find that almost more than half of the people that are hungry in the world are coming from Africa, over 556 million. So what do we do to help these people? Then we need to act at this time and help the people, bring the finances and help ensure that technologies are available, capacities are there for the people that are vulnerable across the world, especially in Africa. You'll find that Africa is contributing only 17.5% of the population, around 1.4 billion. But the problems that we have, malnutrition, the hunger, we're contributing over 40%. That is big, and most of the things are coming because of the climate change, the environment. Let's look, what do we do to ensure that we are making these decisions and helping the people? Because what we are doing is that we are delaying services, we are delaying everything, and we are making people to die. We are creating death among the populations around the world. So this time what we expect is that we need decisions, and those decisions should be matched with funding, and policy guides are provided so that we start working on them and ensure that there's commitments, and where commitments have been done, we have to ensure that the funds are following those commitments and ensure that we're helping the people. If not, we are allowing people to perish, and we're going to create what you might call a genocide, because you're going to have so many people dying because of malnutrition and other diseases across especially vulnerable areas in Africa and other areas around the world. Yeah.
The issue of funding, and I like the fact that you're bringing into this to play, and I want to hear this from Antek. The issue of funding has always been a thorny issue, and I want to take you through the 10 countries that are most affected by climate change. And you have the Democratic Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, Nigeria, Chad, Ethiopia, Bangladesh, Syria, Afghanistan, Somalia, and South Sudan. Those are the top 10 countries affected by climate change. The most unfortunate thing is they are members of the Global South. We don't even have a single country that is a member of this club from the Global North. And so how then do we ramp up investment in green financing, investment in climate change mitigation, climate change adaptation in these poor countries, Anne?
Thank you so much, O'Brien. And just joining my panelists to agree that there's need for action. And action means, taking action to the most vulnerable group, and coming from an organization which is supporting issues of gender. I think we're looking at also how would these decisions affect those groups, especially gender, women, girls, and young people. But before we talk of funding, O'Brien, let's look at also what we've committed even globally as we go to financing of these commitments. Kenya, for example, has committed, and most of the African countries have committed to agreements such as biodiversity agreements, reduction of desertification, agreements in terms of reduction of pollution. We are also signatories to the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals. And what are we've signed to so much, but we don't see action on the ground. And action would then mean, Brian, devolving or taking these grants to financing the most vulnerable groups from the countries you mentioned. We came from COP, like you said, and there were a lot of commitments that were made in terms of financing on climate action. Look at the loss and damage that most of the countries pledged to. I think as civil society, what we've been saying is that how do then the person on the ground, the most vulnerable, which my panelists have said, is able to access these funds and are able to access these funds for green actions. And the way to do it is probably to devolve that fund to the local level. And for Kenya, for example, is to have funds to the subnational level and to the ward level and to the village level so that these people, the vulnerable people, are able to to tap into it, and not only to have. We've struggled with accessing. You know that most of these funds are not easily accessible. For example, if you want to access the Green Climate Fund, there are processes in terms of developing proposals, of which very few organizations are able to do that. So you can imagine the person at that village level, how are they able to tap into?
And has this been done by default or by design?
It could be by design, and we don't know for what reasons, and that's why the voice of civil society is very key to ensure that we speak out and ensure that accessibility of that fund is possible.
Dr. Mwenda Mithika, there are three issues that are going to be discussed in the UNEA 6, and you're starting with climate change, nature and biodiversity, laws and pollution and waste. I want to hear from you on the issue of climate change. What do you expect to hear in the resolutions at UNEA 6?
Thank you. I know there will be the review of the COP28, where key outcomes in Dubai were, and we are celebrating, but I'm not personally celebrating, the loss and damage fund, because everybody is saying, we reached a decision and we have a fund now, but Antec is here, and she can tell you how long it will take for those women to access that fund. Even access modalities are yet to be even defined as we speak now, leave alone even the negligible, amount which was there compared to what is required really to address loss and damage. And so, but one of the things which I'm looking upon, Sri Lanka is going to, on climate change, and this is a big milestone for us, is going to make, to do a resolution on effective, inclusive, and sustainable action towards climate justice. And for me, this is very important. That session will be chaired by our partner, the Swedish government. And the Swedish government has been a very committed, partner and advocate of climate justice. So why is it very important for me and for us? It's because climate justice takes the discourse on climate change further beyond the scope of science and environment, so that it becomes a women's issue. It becomes a gender issue. It becomes a food security issue. It becomes, an agricultural issue. The discussion which we have been having over years, until maybe a decade ago, we have been just discussing climate change, that meteorology, you see, without acknowledging that it has impact on our infrastructure when it rains. Look at the destruction it caused in Northeastern and all our rules. That makes it an economic issue. Because now, instead of now taking that money to where it was supposed to be for development, it goes to the destruction which have been caused by these recurring floods. And when there is that drought, what happens? You see many people dying, millions. In fact, in the Horn of Africa, we lost millions of livestock and thousands of lives because of this drought, climate-inspired drought. And so, you can see its impact. Instead of government now taking the money to where it was supposed to take it, then that money is now going, because the government will not let the people die. It is diverted now to address that crisis. That is what has been recurring in Africa and elsewhere due to the growing impacts of climate change. But then we don't acknowledge that. Broadly, you understand that climate change, is not caused by Africans and poor people. It is caused according to science, there are those who have caused it. So one of the things, imperatives of climate justice, is that those who have caused the problem should be in a position to pay for it. Because you have broken that child's egg, and that child now is crying, you don't let that child cry and tell that child, go and look for another egg. That's how you know, analogically, that means. And these are now how we are unpackaging. And I think through this, that's why you can see she's here, she works for women, but now as a women organization, they have realized that, oh, this issue is our issue, is not for scientists or environmentalists. We as women, we are being affected. We are not going to allow others to speak. We want to speak for ourselves. Young people, they are also want to say it is our issue. And smallholder farmers, it is our issue. So we are broadened. So those are what we call climate justice. And once this is unpackaged, we are going to attract more, constituencies or people thinking about it so that we can drive the agenda. So in terms of then on climate, the climate discourse there, this resolution for us is very, very important, and we will be looking upon this because perhaps we were waiting for this so that in the subsequently we'll find modalities now for implementation and ensuring that the resolutions for the UNEA are never going just to be mere resolutions, but we are going to be part of the implementation. That has not been there. Though we have major groups and stakeholders forum, but it has really been a very rigid process, and this resolution is going to be very important for us.
Very good. I will be coming back to you because I would want to know what kind of follow-through mechanisms do we put in place to ensure that we don't end up discussing, the same things, every, different years we are discussing the same things. But I want to hear from this, Duncliffe. I mean, you are in the food and security areas, and the issue of biodiversity loss is also coming up for conversation during UNEA 6. What are your expectations?
We want to look at exactly like we want to see that there is a protection of biodiversity. We want to see that because also we depend on nature to produce food. So we want also to see that there is that sustainable production and of course to ensure that we also do not create losses to the environment. So we want to see investment going to ensure that food security, there's improvement in food security. And one of the things that we're also trying to say that let's break these things down and say what exactly do we want. For example, somebody in Marsabit is having conflict with a neighbor because of water. So we are even setting neighbors against themselves. So how do we ensure there is water that is sustainably available for the people of Marsabit? So how do we see the people of Isiolo all the way to Mandera? So what is it that we want to do? For food security, it means water security also. So like as an organization as Action Against Hunger, one of the things that we are also looking at is to ensure that as we look at the environment, as we also work on the protection of the environment, we also enhancing anticipatory action. One of the things is that to ensure people understand. For example, you can be able to tell people that looking at as we destroy the environment, we can also see that the severity of drought is coming. So there's discussions around how do we protect the environment. But of the biggest importance here is how do we ensure that there's access to these resources, especially the water. So how do you ensure that there's sustainable water accessible to the people? People's livelihood are going, like what Dr. Minthika said. We lost millions of cattle and of course livestock in the ASAL areas, in the arid and semi-arid areas. So how do we ensure that there is protection and of the people to ensure that there is access to that water to them? Of course, at the end of the day, we need to invest in that. Of course, at the end of the day, look at what we have from our forests, especially. We have seen that over time when we're protecting our forests, we are seeing that climate also is improving. So how do we also help our people understand that the climate, that the environment they have is also a source of everything that they have, so that they need to protect that environment and ensure that there's protection and ensure that that environment is sustainable. And I think those are also the aspirations of the UNEP, the United Nations on Environment Program, that we are sustainable in how we also utilize is the environment.
Very well. Anne, you're in the space of advocating for gender inclusivity in matters climate change, pollution, waste management, and all these. And one of the topics here to be discussed is pollution and waste management. How do you link the issues of gender and climate change? Where is the nexus?
Thanks, O'Brien. Looking at pollution and waste management as the third theme to be discussed during this year, UNEA, I think what they're looking at is the information, the data that is already existing, and how we can use that data to make decisions, to inform policies. And for us, policies here means gender-sensitive policies. How is this data that we have then would address issues of gaps within waste management and pollution, and it should be gender-sensitive. And also, when you talk about gender and climate change, Dr. Mithika mentioned about us contributing least to the climate change. But as women, or as women within the region, especially in Africa, we are talking about thousands of women being affected by climate change, in a sense that these are the people whom we depend to look for water, to look for fuel, to look for food when these disasters strike. You find that most of the women are are employed or depends most on the agriculture sector, like what my colleague said, especially on food security. These are the people who are majority employed or depends most on agriculture. Women in Africa also, I mean, they are caregivers, like they care for the sick, the disabled when these disasters strike. But you find that the less informed when it comes to climate change issues or even waste and pollution issues. They don't have the financial, like we said, to tackle these climate change issues. So our priority, or things, what we are looking forward to this UNEA is ensuring that even the decisions are made in terms of pollution, climate change, are gender sensitive. I mean, if there are any, anything that is coming out from the UNEA, then the issue of gender should be included.
And when you look at the three issues that are going to be discussed, on climate change, biodiversity laws, and pollution and waste, do they capture the challenges that women are facing in the world today?
O'Brien, we just came from the AU summit in Addis, where heads of states were meeting to discuss issues in Africa. And I think we need to be bold and brave to really highlight what are these real problems before even we go to issues of climate change, pollution and waste management. Look at most of the African countries. They are now struggling with issues of debt. They are struggling with climate change. They are struggling with not good education. I think the theme for this year was looking at education and in Africa. But before even we address issues of climate change and pollution, have we addressed the key issues that is facing the region? And I think once we address that, then we'll be able to tackle these environment issues. And like Dr. Mithika said, is how we then are able to prioritize. We have priorities in terms of education, in terms of healthcare, in terms of basic even food. But how do we then prioritize environment, even as we struggle to put budgets on the key sectors?
Daktari, you see, when you look at since the first UNEA in 2014, there has been 90 resolutions that have been passed so far by the 5 UNEAs, and this is going to be the 6th one. We do not know how many resolutions will be passed this time around. How then do we build on these resolutions to ensure that we follow through on the resolutions and ensure that they are applied and they are effected to the letter?
This is the conundrum which we have in all the global geopolitical interactions and how we address the critical issues affecting the global citizens. As I mentioned, we have a problem with the resolutions which are never implemented. And in fact, this can even trickle down even at our country level, where you go to the ministries, you find a lot of policies and the strategies are just lying in the shelves of government ministries without implementation. So this is not a problem of UNEP only. It is our global problem. And we need to ask ourselves, I'm a public policy practitioner. And resolutions and decisions are policies. They are frameworks. And they require implementation. So the question we have really to ask ourselves as a people, both even at national and international level, in institutions like African Union, like the UN, ask ourselves, what is the relevance of every time having these resolutions without implementation? Is there a better way we can do them? Do we really, are we sure that we do them the right way? Because one of the things in public policy making process is that it has processes. One of the processes is consultation. Do you really involve the people? Because at the end of the day, the implementation will be done by not the people who do it, but really the owners, the consumers of these policies. And so what happens is that we do them very well. They are done by consultants. And at the end of the day, there is no ownership. So the issue of ownership is one most important aspect. So do countries own this, or you just go because there is a UNEA, a country delegation just goes there, participates, and it ends there. So that's point number one. Number two, he mentioned, is it for, there is what we call MOI, not the President MOI, but means of implementation. MOI. Policies are supposed to be followed by means of implementation. First of all, legal frameworks in countries of implementation, and also at resources, human and resources like finance. So do we have that? If we have a resolution like this I'm mentioning about climate justice, have we quantified how much it will cost for its implementation? Or because Sri Lanka thought that it wants to be a champion of climate justice, they just want to propose a resolution which will go there. So one of the things which we need to do is really to be intentional on whom are we doing these policies? Whom are we doing these resolutions? And do we have the resources to do that? And the resources, by the way, is provided by the people, by governments, by philanthropies, by private sector, and everybody. So if we are able then to identify and ensure that we have the whole process of policy making and decision making, that we know that we have ownership, I believe that it is going to be done. But as I finish, the role of the people, civil society, for instance, is very important. So do we feel sufficiently involved when they are doing it? How much, like this resolution from Sri Lanka, how much are we practitioners on climate justice have been consulted? I was privileged to get the draft resolution because we work with some partners who asked me about it. So I think we need really to look at the way we do our laws, the way we do our policies, the way we do our strategies. We need them, the ownership, to build ownership for the people. Once that is done, I think we are going to get them implemented.
Gentlemen, because we have to wind up and go to State House, I want to give Dan Clive and Tech, a minute each to give us your final closing remarks.
Thank you for the invitation, and we're happy as Action Against Hunger. We're more on elimination of hunger and malnutrition globally. So we want to say that because the climate change has been discussed more, but nutrition has not found its way well into the climate change and the discussions in the UNEA. We want to say that malnutrition is the face of the climate change. All the biodiversity issues that we are seeing, the pollution and everything, but malnutrition is the face of it. Let's invest in that. Look at all the programs that support to improve good nutrition, food security, water security, gender, like my sister here, everything, so that we are able to uplift the man globally.
Very good.
Brian, I think the theme for this year is looking at inclusive multilateralism in addressing the three issues. But to address the three issues, I think because of the nature of the issues you're addressing, like water, which are transboundary, like forests, which are also, which are beyond even a country or within a country, beyond borders, within counties. So I think, like I said, it's to address issues that would then impede, a transboundary approach to addressing pollution and biodiversity, like peace and security. But looking at also the issue of environment in Kenya, I think it's a collective role for each and every one of us. You see people throwing garbage when they're driving through the roads or over the window. So it's actually the role of each and everybody of us to address issues of environment. And lastly, like Dr. Mithika said, let's finance these policies. For instance, Kenya, pollution is they say that waste management is a devolved issue. How have we then allocated budgets to this, especially at the county level? Yeah. Do the environment departments have enough budgets? How is it allocated in terms of looking at those sectors?
Very good. Gentlemen and lady, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I mean, we still had 20 minutes to go, but we have to go to State House, where the President is meeting with executives from the Lipton Teas, and a major announcement is going to be made there. Your time is highly appreciated. We'll keep engaging as the issues of climate change and pollution, those are issues that we face every day. Asanteni sana.
Thank you.
Very good time now for us to take you to State House. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. You have been watching Base Check with me, O'Brien Kimani. The first hour we discussed real estate, and the second hour our conversation was around the UNEA 6, which is happening next week here in Nairobi. We'll take you now to State House for the conference.
On creating jobs and creating skills for youth in Kenya. There's a responsibility in that sense. And that's why from the different sectors, whether it's the agriculture sector, obviously the most important, tea, flowers, dairy sector and others, but also in the agri-logistics or in the health sector or in the energy sector or in the water sector, how can we indeed look at that business climate, work together to improve the opportunities in that sector. And therefore we think that skills, education, academies, collaboration with universities is an important component in that sense. Not only between the government of the Netherlands and the government of Kenya, but I think more and more, especially if we talk about skills, in collaboration with the private sector, because they know what are the skills which are needed. They have the expertise as well to work in that sector and to train and to work with young people to make sure that those skills are here, where you can work jointly in adding value to your products, whether it's in the tea, whether it's in bouquets of flowers, whether it's in the other sectors. And therefore we think it's really important to have this collaboration. We're really proud that this is being signed today, also after your visit, Excellency, to the Netherlands last year, in strengthening that relationship in the agriculture sector, in the tea sector, but also in logistics, etc., and to see a fruitful and very concrete and very fast collaboration coming out of this sector. Especially this year, important year for the Netherlands. We are celebrating 60 years of bilateral relationships between the Netherlands and Kenya. We started earlier this year with the political discussions. We had a mission last week about investments in Kenya, and we feel that this fits perfectly in the private sector collaboration between the Netherlands and Kenya. So thank you very much. We look forward to the collaboration and also see how a lot of young people can benefit from this for the tea sector. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the Chief Executive Officer, Nazaria Rus, ever since the first time we had an encounter, she's so passionate and committed in what she does. And she has promised that this is going to be transformative. This is going to improve the Kenyan tea. Things are not going to be the same anymore. Madam CEO, please come and make your remarks. And thank you very much for the initiative.
Good idea. Why not? I take the right. Okay. Can you see it? Then I can start. Your Excellency, President Dr. Ruto. Dear Senator Aaron Cheriot, Honorable Ezekiel Machogu, EGH Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Education. Dear friends from the Dutch Embassy in Kenya. Dear Dr. Langer, CEO of TVETA, and dear colleagues of TVETA. Dear Council Chair, dear Vice Chancellor and friends at the University of Kabianga. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, we are here today to present a groundbreaking project that symbolizes our confidence in the future of Kenya and the future of Africa as a whole. As Nobel Peace Prize winner and former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan put it, to succeed, Africa must rely on the strength of its human and natural resources. The continent's future lies in its youth, innovation, and its ability to turn challenges into opportunities. It is in this spirit that we announce the creation of the world's first academy dedicated to research, innovation, and training in the field of tea. This academy is anchored in the heart of the continent's largest tea-producing region at the University of Kabianga. Tea is much more than a crop. It is a cornerstone of Kenya's economy and core to Lipton teas and infusions. We are the largest purchaser of Kenyan tea. Almost half of tea we source comes from Kenya. It is part of your heritage and a symbol of our ability to mutually create value for all. In the face of climate change, global market volatility, and changing consumer tastes, our ability to innovate will determine our future success. Specialized training is therefore essential to prepare the next generation of farmers, innovators, researchers, and leaders to meet these challenges. Our ambition is to always develop the strengths we share, our natural resources, tea, and our human resources, the people who invent new cultivation methods and those who deploy them. I'm not sure we will sell a lot of tea here, but we can still have some display. It can't harm. Thank you. The Lipton Tea Innovation and Technology Academy will be a global center of excellence. It will combine theoretical teaching, applied research, and practical experience. Partnerships with international institutions and key industry players will ensure training that sets new standards in quality and sustainable production. With state-of-the-art facilities and world-class faculty, we will prepare the students to become pioneers in tea innovation. By funding this academy and choosing to associate our name, Lipton, with it, we are making a long-term commitment to train the talent that is needed around the world. But more than that, by offering the University of Kabyanga free use of the intellectual property that our scientists have developed over the decades, we are giving it the means to become the global center of expertise for tea. The establishment of this academy will benefit all stakeholders in the industry and symbolize a new model of economic development for Kenya. By offering bachelor, master's, and PhD programs, the university will develop knowledge that is valuable to small and large producers, to farmers, and to traders. Our ambition is for this know-how to infuse the entire Kirisho and beyond to make tea from Kenya the world reference. Tea from Kenya will be as sought after and valued as French Burgundy wine. The Academy will be the birthplace of ideas and methods that will shape the future of tea, thus contributing to the sustainable prosperity of Kenya and its citizens. Mr. President, I would like to thank you for your vision, your commitment, and your support. Since our first meeting in the Netherlands in May 2023, our teams have worked intensively for 10 months to make it possible to launch this academy today. We have the opportunity and the joint responsibility to forge a future where every Kenyan can reach their full potential. The Lipton Tea Innovation and Technology Academy is more than a center of learning. It is a promise to youth, to the economy, and to the future. Together, Mr. President, let us make this vision a reality. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, CEO, for the wonderful work. And Your Excellency, we promise that from now on we will be working very closely with this team, not only in Kabyanga, but in other parts of the country. And there's no doubt, Your Excellency, that you started this, and we promise that we will not fail you. It is now my very humble duty to ask you to be upstanding as we invite His Excellency the President to address us. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Please, let's take our seats. I don't know. Is that, can you see me? Your Excellency, Ambassador, my dear sister Natalie and your team from Lipton's leaders present here, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this very important occasion. As I am delighted to welcome all of you to State House and to take this opportunity, especially to our friends from Lipton coming from outside Kenya, to thank you and to say karibu, welcome. Our collaboration across various sectors has significantly strengthened our partnership and benefited the citizens of both Netherlands and Kenya. Today we gather to celebrate a new milestone in our relationship and in our partnership. The agricultural sector is not only a fundamental component of our national economic activity, but it is also one in which our country is most competitive globally and has the highest employment multiplier effect. Agriculture also accounts for the incomes of 2/3 of Kenyans, while agro-industry contributes 40% of manufacturing jobs and 48% of our GDP. Under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the government has committed to implement a value chain framework to invest optimally and achieve the greatest positive impact on agricultural productivity. The tea sector, in particular, holds immense potential in terms of local, regional, and overseas opportunities, and consequently boosting the tea value chain, especially through optimal blending and branding of Kenyan teas, is a specific commitment under our agenda. We have a major opportunity to enhance the economic contribution of the tea value chain as a key foreign exchange earner and a significant contributor to Kenya's global market presence by raising the value of our tea exports beyond the current $1.1 billion US. This will increase the incomes of approximately 5 million Kenyans employed directly and indirectly in the tea value chain, including over 650,000 small-scale farmers across the KTDA and large-scale farmers associations. To actualize the full potential of tea, it is time to enhance both productivity and quality by adopting modern technologies across the tea value chain, from cultivating high-value, climate-resilient tea clones to employing the best practices in agronomy, plucking, processing, and marketing. Additionally, we must undertake training for our youth, especially those employed in the tea industry, in order to equip them with skills and knowledge on optimal tea husbandry practices and value-added processing. Quality training involving deliberate investment in research and training resources is essential, while robust partnerships with organizations in the local and international space, public and private sector, are indispensable in facilitating the transfer of necessary knowledge and skills in the tea industry. I therefore appreciate and commend the partnership between Lipton Teas and Infusions and various other entities to establish the Lipton Tea Innovation and Technology Academy as an exemplary initiative with highly transformative potential for Kenya, our region, and the tea industry at large. I recall that only last year I held discussions with Lipton's corporate leadership in The Hague about the possibility of local value addition for Kenyan tea and the enhancement of national standards and organizational ecosystem for a sustainable and responsible tea industry within our country. I very sincerely thank you for making time. I insisted when I was at The Hague, I insisted on meeting these good people. And they came forward. And we had a 2.5-hour meeting. Sometimes difficult it was, but finally it came out as a very productive meeting. I am very grateful that that engagement 10 months ago today has fruits. We can measure the outcome of that conversation. As one of the members of parliament has said, because of that conversation, Parliament passed legislation in our finance bill to remove taxes on packaging material for our tea, especially tea that is meant for export. It is my commitment that we shall conclude that exercise and make it realistic for packaging material to be imported into Kenya without taxes, so that we can increase the value addition mechanisms in our country. I'm also very happy that today, because when I met Lipton's corporate leadership, I told them a couple of things. I told them, number one, we are partners. You buy the largest quantities of tea from us. We want to be partners because we grow the tea, you sell the tea. You cannot do without us, and we cannot do without you. So we need a much more robust, engaging partnership between us. And we agreed on the things they needed to do and the things we needed to do. We have done our bit, and I am very happy today they are doing theirs. That is the mark of true friendship. That today you are committing close to $500 million for the setup of this academy in Kenya to support our tea industry. And the reason why the Ministry of Education is here and TVETA is here is because we want to do that which is going to make our tea competitive. I am very proud that today in supermarkets across Europe, for the first time, you will have a label that says this tea is from Kenya. For the first time. And we want to thank Lipton's for making it a reality. We've always gone to all manner of places, and on menus and in hotels, you're told, oh, are you interested in, which tea are you looking for? Is it English breakfast tea, or is it? For the first time, the English breakfast tea will be replaced by Kenyan tea. Because it has always been Kenyan tea, but it has always been labeled English breakfast tea. Thank you, Lipton's, for making it a reality for us to have a Kenyan brand in supermarkets across Europe. It was the request I made, and I'm very happy that you have made it a reality. Secondly, we had also the discussion around how do farmers benefit more from their tea. And the conversation was around quality, and it was around ESGs, that it is not enough to produce more tea, but it is more important to produce high quality tea. And that is in a context where the world is looking at. People are now very sensitive. Consumers globally are now sensitive about the social aspects of production. They are interested in quality, and they are interested in the impact it has on environment. And the academy that is going to be set up is going to work with our TVETs so that we have skilled labor, we have extension service, and we can train farmers on making sure that they produce tea in a manner that we can sell to the market at premium prices. For a very long time, we concentrated on quantity, producing more tea. And in the process, we undermined our own business because we created too much supply, and with too much supply, the prices went down. It is time. And it's not the fault of farmers. We told farmers produce more tea, and that's what they did. I think it's time now for us, using scientific empirical evidence, for us to tell our farmers what kind of tea will give them the best price. And that is why this academy becomes very important. When I asked Lipton about this, they told me they will go and think about it. I'm very happy, Natalie, that you did not just think about it, you have decided to do something about it. And today we are celebrating this setup of the academy in Kabianga. And the academy in Kabianga is going to work with all our TVETs in all our tea growing areas. I am happy the members of parliament are here. The reason why Liptons are setting up this facility in Kabianga is because I think 80% of their own estates are in that region. But we have agreed with them that that academy is not even going to be a Kenyan academy. As mentioned by Natalie, it's going to be a global academy on tea. Because we must claim as Kenya legitimately the tea space. The same way everybody believes that the best wine comes from some place in France. The best tea in the world comes from Kenya. It is just as simple as that. And therefore, this academy will not only help us make sure that that best tea from Kenya continues to be the best tea, it continues to be the premium tea, but it's also going to meet the best international standards, so that our farmers are trained appropriately to make sure that the social aspects of their production is clear, the environmental aspects of their production is good, and also the quality is always at the standard where consumers can give testimony that this is good quality tea produced sustainably. So I'm really happy that we are doing this. The TVETA, which is represented here, should make sure that all the TVETs in the tea growing areas become part of this academy, so that even research and training of agricultural extension officers and agricultural personnel will be spread across Kenya, especially in the tea growing areas, so that all our farmers have the right information, the right training to produce the best quality tea, so that as we brand Kenya, as we have the labels across the globe that it comes from Kenya, it must meet the highest global standards. Farmers can only operate with the quality of information they get. And therefore, it is important that we make the most updated, the best quality information available to our farmers. I have said the pioneering initiative will position Kenya as a global hub for training top quality tea professionals and facilitate innovation throughout the tea value chain, as well as the upskilling of existing tea farmers, thereby driving the transformation of the tea industry to deliver maximum benefits for households, the value chain, and our national economy. Congratulations to Lipton and the University of Kabianga, together with TVETA, for a visionary partnership in establishing an academy of this standard. I recognize with gratitude that the financial and technical contribution of Lipton Teas and Infusions made it possible to deliver on this initiative on time at this scale. Lipton, the world's largest tea business, which houses many renowned brands, has shown commendable commitment to enhancing value creation for all stakeholders in the Kenyan tea industry, and they deserve our commendation. I note with approval that this collaboration is explicitly aimed at promoting sustainable and responsible practices in the tea industry and developing Kenya as a global model in sustainable tea sourcing. We are therefore all aligned in the respect of this commitment to make Kenya's tea value chain competitive in terms of quality, as well as in conformity with the highest social and environmental standards. I am also glad that Lipton has committed to supporting the development of a Kenyan origin tea classification to guarantee farmers good returns. Beyond the existing partners, there is scope for more stakeholders, including the State Department of Vocational Training, Higher Education, Agriculture, the Commission of University Education, county governments, Tea Board of Kenya, KTDA, Tea Research, together with international friends, supporters, and partners, to collaborate in making this academy a global center of excellence for training and research to transform our tea industry and make it globally competitive. You heard Natalie say, tea is beyond a crop. It's a whole lifestyle and it's a whole economy. The establishment of the Lipton Tea Innovation and Technology Academy is a novel and specialized contribution to the government's commitment to enhance access to affordable and quality education that will contribute to transforming the industry by enhancing tea production, value addition, and productivity through research and innovation. As we focus on research, innovation, and extension, I challenge the Vice Chancellor of the University of Kabianga and his team to take measures to ensure the provision of extension services to local and countrywide tea growing communities. Once more, I thank Ms. Natalie Roos and her entire Lipton Tea and Infusions team for the dedication to this groundbreaking partnership to transform Kenyan tea and commitment to collaborate with all stakeholders in order to uplift the industry. I affirm Kenya's commitment to this and other similarly inspired joint efforts, look forward to witnessing the Academy in action and offering the world a taste of best Kenyan tea and giving our farmers and other industry workers a share of global prosperity. Again, to our friends in Netherlands, the Lipton's family, and to the tea growing fraternity in Kenya. This is a historic moment for all of us. All the things we've always wanted. We've always wanted to claim our space as the best tea growers globally. I think now working with Lipton's, slowly we will begin to occupy that space and brand our country for what it is, a producer of the best tea in the world. We've always wanted to make tea pay more to our farmers. We now have yet another opportunity to make sure that we produce tea in a way that the most earnings and incomes go to our farmers, by making sure that they produce sustainably, they produce good quality, and which is environmentally sensitive, and we can sell our tea for what it is. So again, I also want to thank the Lipton's fraternity for helping me answer some of my critics. You know, some people ask me, what did you go and do in Netherlands? So I think today you have helped me, Natalie, to answer those people. There are people who thought I came to Netherlands as a tourist. Now they know that I spend very good quality time. And today we have a 500 million academy supporting our entire tea industry of 5 million Kenyans. 650,000 farmers will benefit from this intervention. And for the first time, we will have Kenyan origin on the labels of tea in the world. That has always been what we've always desired, because we were being shortchanged, that Kenyan tea was being packaged as teas of other countries, when it actually is Kenyan tea. So again, I want to say thank you very much. Congratulations to Lipton. Congratulations to Kapianga. Congratulations to our Tibets. Congratulations to our tea growing fraternity in Kenya, that we are making strides in turning around our tea industry and making it much more competitive, and to pay our farmers more and create more income for us and foreign exchange for our country. Thank you very much. God bless you. Pongezi. Congratulations.
So, yes, Waziri, anything else? I request Your Excellency that the CEO and the ambassador can have a photo with you and the team.
Just take a seat.
Because now we seem to have aligned ourselves, the branding of Kenyan tea, and I want maybe the researchers now that will go into the whole tea space. I am told that now it is confirmed that there is no problem that cannot be solved over a cup of Kenyan tea. You know, so all you need to solve all your problems is just a cup of Kenyan tea, and you will. Okay. Congratulations.
Outstanding. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Your words and our trust.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Such a fun.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so you want us to take here? I think they want us to take some photographs.
utakuwa utope. Ndio na shida usema anaona kama
Naam, mtazamaji, kama unavyoona hizo ni picha za moja kwa moja kutoka ikulu ya rais, ambapo Rais William Ruto alikuwa akizindua tu shule ya akademia ikishirikiana na serikali ya Uholanzi kushirikiana ili kuimarisha na kuzalisha sekta ya majani chai hapa nchini. Na kama unavyoona ni baadhi tu ya viongozi na washikadau katika sekta ya majani chai ambao wamekongamana hapa katika ikulu ya rais, ambapo Rais William Ruto alianzisha ama amezindua shule ya akademia kwa ubunifu na teknolojia inayofahamika kama Infusions Limited, ili kuendeleza na kuimarisha sekta ya majani chai hapa nchini. Ni picha tu ambazo unaziona sasa hivi, ni picha za moja kwa moja kama unavyoona viongozi na washikadau wengine ambao waliofika katika eneo hilo wanapata zile picha na Rais William Ruto kama unavyoona kwenye runinga yako mtazamaji. Hapo ndio tunapata kuenda kwa mapumziko mafupi, lakini mtazamaji, nahisi usiende mbali, kwani narejea na kipindi cha Tamrina ambapo tutakuwa na mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja. Usiende mbali.
On KBC Channel 1.
Sure you knew about it. Get out.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
Ili kupata uzembe kama sikiza tune yako, bonyeza *812*49. Hakuna baraka yoyote katika uzembe. Uzembe huleta umasikini, upweke na sikini. Umepewa mikono na ondoka. Nenda